This conference will now be recorded.
And we're just a few seconds away, friends, and we are going to rock and roll. So presentation's looking great, John. I can't wait to watch it.
Great.
Well, hello, friends. Welcome to Stamp Chat. My name is Heidi. I work with the American Philatelic Society, and I'm so happy to see everybody on the call today. It's particularly fun to see new faces and new names, although I love seeing my friendly faces that I grow accustomed to on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays on Stamp Chat. Welcome to another fabulous episode. Today, we are talking about dinosaurs, and if anybody was on social media yesterday, well, you know, yesterday was National Dinosaur Day or World Dinosaur Day, and so it's tremendously apropos that we should have Dr. Jon Noad with us today to talk about his philatelic passion, which is dinosaurs. This is part one, and I do want to let everybody know that today's program is a two-part series. So the next presentation will be on Monday, June 1, which is also another day where we get to celebrate dinosaurs. So please put that, in the back of your mind or on your Outlook calendar to rejoin us. I would like to say thank you to all of our American Philatelic Society members. It's because of the member support that you offer us through your donations and through your membership that we are able to offer Stamp Chat, which I believe is something very delightful and fulfilling for us, particularly during this time of isolation. So thank you so much for your support. Tomorrow night, we have a very special event. I hope that most, if not all, will join us. In the words of Charlene, the stamp keeper Blair, by any means necessary. We will, the USPS had to cancel its release of the Harlem Renaissance stamp, the big party that would have went down tomorrow, but we will prevail. Esper and APS is co-sponsoring and co-hosting a celebration marking the release of the Harlem Renaissance stamp. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. we'll have a Zoom, and you it on Facebook Live and on YouTube, on our APS YouTube channel. So we hope that you'll come visit us and you'll invite your friends. Without further ado, friends, I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Jon Noad. He comes to us from Calgary, Canada, so we're very happy to have him. He's an APS member, and he is a delight, and there's no doubt in my mind you will have a new genre to begin collecting after you hear this discussion. And remember, it's only part one. So Dr. Noad, please take it away. And remember, friends, go ahead and ask your questions in the chat box. I will call on you, give you some time to, unmute yourself, and you can ask your question. If you prefer that I ask your question, just let me know. Just say H, ask my question, or ask my question for me, okay? All right, friends. Thanks, Dr. Noad.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. And today's talk is about dinosaurs on stamps. Now, I'm just going to start off with a little bit about myself so you know where I come from. I work as a geologist and an educator here in Calgary. I began my career in mining and then moved back to the UK to work on undersea cable routes. I did a master's in Dinosaur Provincial Park and a PhD in Eastern Borneo. And then I joined the oil industry in 1998, and I moved to Calgary in 2006. So I've done a lot of travel, a lot of fascinating work, but I can tell you it's not a reliable career. I've been let go probably 4 or 5 times, and right now also looking for a job. I have 1 wife, 3 kids. All my kids have dinosaur middle names, Rex, Maya, and Plessy for Plesiosaurus. I'm a runner, skier, soccer player, and I also love wildlife photography. So the plan of attack is that today we're going to talk a little bit about how I started collecting, what elements I collect, a brief history of dinosaurs on stamps, and then we're going to do the ugly. So instead of doing the good, the bad, and the ugly, we're starting off with the ugly, and I'm going to talk about some of the downsides of being a topical collector. And then in part 2, we're going to move on June the 1st to talk about the really beautiful side of my collection. So some of the most delightful stamp designs, the rarities, the errors, a lot of original artwork as well. So prepare for the bad this time and then the good the next time, but hopefully the bad will be of interest, particularly to anybody who's a topical collector. So what do I collect? Well, really mint stamps and first day covers was what I tried to focus on. So I started off just buying the mint stamps, but I realized that the first day covers were often really works of art. I try and avoid buying imperforate stamps, especially because most of the countries seem to be issuing them purely to make money out of collectors. But I also look for proofs, specimens, errors, and original artwork, as I mentioned earlier. And there's an example down there at the bottom, which is a piece of artwork that was designed for first day cover and for a stamp from the Marshall Islands. And I've also ended up buying Cinderellas, and we'll talk a lot about them today, and some other stuff as well. So what is that other stuff? Well, I had this great plan to stick to the stamps and the first day covers, but I've ended up buying calendar cards, maxi cards, frame prints, special sheets, presentation packs, postally used covers, proofs, jigsaw puzzles, t-shirts, you name it. And I have a t-shirt on today with a dinosaur stamp on it as well. So all in all, it's become quite an expensive hobby over the years. So I started off collecting stamps as a child, like probably very many of you. And this is where I used to go and buy my stamps, where that little red circle is, the Odeon Stamp Shop in Uxbridge, West London. And it's no longer there, sadly. That whole building has been knocked down to make way for a giant oil company building. But nonetheless, it was a great place to go and hang out. And like a lot of stamp shops, very quiet in there. You almost felt like you should whisper. And my collection at that time included a few dinosaur stamps. So Poland 1965 came out the year after I was born. And I had a few stamps there, but my collection really lapsed in my teens. I moved on to going seeing bands and having a good time. And really, I forgot all about stamp collecting until 1992. And I was walking to a lecture in London, and I passed the Strand Hotel, and there was a little sign there that said stamp fair. So I thought, well, I've got a half an hour to spare, I'll go in. And that half an hour has been something that's really changed my whole life. So I found the thematic stall in there, and I ended up spending £200, which was a lot of money in those days, and bought a lot of stamps. This one here that I'm showing, this little Antigua special sheet, was the very first one that I bought. So that's how it all started. And I got serious. I started attending Thematica, and I wrote to many dealers, which was very, very lucky because this was before the internet. So I was writing to dealers, and I got hold of a lot of material that would be pretty much impossible to find right now. Now everything's on eBay, things have changed, as I'll talk about in a minute. So I joined eBay in 2001, Delcamp in 2002, so those are my two main sources of material. And I exhibited for the first time last year, and this is a picture that my daughter took of me at the Calgary Philatelic Stamp Show. So eBay has had a huge impact on not just my stamp collecting, but so many stamp collectors out there. And there's currently around 10,000 dinosaur stamp lots for sale on eBay. And pretty much the same on Delcamp as well. And they range from singles, sets, to very rare items. And the number of bidders, I've watched it go up through time. So I have the feeling most of my competition is Chinese bidders with a lot of money to spare. So rare items used to go for maybe $50, perhaps as much as $100. And now you can see some of these items go for $1,000. So I'm really just spectating and trying to see how much things in my collection are worth. And that's the best thing about eBay, because it gives you a real yardstick for how much your collection is worth. And this was brought home to me where we were chatting about things that we owned and what they were worth. And my friend Tim has this Victorian bottle with a marble in the neck. And what happened, they used to break the necks to get the marble out to play marbles. So he was saying, oh, this is probably worth £50. So we had a look on eBay, and it turned out it was only worth £1. So that's about just over $1. So it just shows that eBay is really the way to kind of give you a true yardstick and a true idea of how much your collection is really worth. So the inspiration for a lot of stamps, some people are really creative and they do their own designs, but the vast majority of stamps basically have stolen from designs and paintings by famous dinosaur artists. And probably the two most famous artists are Rudolf Zallinger and Burian. And these guys were painting these beautiful dinosaurs many, many years ago, and their designs are reappearing on stamps again and again and again. So this is the picture up at the top here is from a mural that's on show at Yale University. And it's a very, very famous mural. And it was actually used for a US stamp in 1970. So there's the stamp, which represents this part of the mural. And this particularly nice item here, because it's a first day cover that's signed by the artist who did the original mural, Rudolf Zallinger. But you can see that many others of these dinosaurs have been stolen and used on different stamps from around the world. So let's have a look at the history of dinosaur stamps and what happened from the start and how they've developed over time. So the very first dinosaur on a stamp was issued in 1958 by China. So they deserve a little cheer for getting things started. And this is the stamp here. It was the first stamp that I showed today. And it's showing a Lophengosaurus, so a lower Jurassic prosauropod. So this is one of the animals that led on to those long-necked dinosaurs. And you can see this beautiful first day cover here, which I looked for years, and then two of them arrived the same week at my house, which is just so ironic. But yeah, you see this very shy dinosaur with his tail dragging on the ground. So really a dated reconstruction of the dinosaur, but all the more lovely for that. Now, this wasn't the first prehistoric animal on a stamp. That right goes to Stegodon, two Stegodons here, which are shown on a stamp from the Geological Survey of India in 1951. So despite this, there are earlier Cinderellas. So the earliest postal item predates this stamp. And some of the very popular material is from Sinclair, so the gas company, who used the dinosaur as their logo. And they issued a lot of fake stamps, but they were admittedly Cinderellas that were given out weekly, one stamp a week, to avid collectors. So their parents would go and buy fuel at the gas station, and they'd pick up an album, and they'd pick up some of these Cinderella stamps. So it actually got a lot of kids interested in stamp collecting as well. And Sinclair also would send out envelopes, and you can see here there's one with this very nice postmark on here from New York from 1934 with another dinosaur there on the postmark. And in addition to that, around the same time, so a year later, Utah issued a set of Cinderella stamps to advertise tourism in the beautiful state of Utah. And the one of them featured the dinosaur monument. And this is the stamp here, and it was painted by a very interesting guy called John Stansfield, who was a shepherd and a builder and later an art teacher. And I have no idea where the original for this is. I've tried very hard to find it, but maybe it's sitting in some vault somewhere in the middle of Utah. But nonetheless, this stamp dates back to 1935. But we can go further. And this, I believe, is the first postal dinosaur. And until I'm proved wrong, we'll stick with it. So what happened was that I wrote to a stamp dealer in the US many years ago, probably 25 years ago, and I was asking about something completely different, and he said, no, I don't have any of that material, but would you be interested in this cover? He said, you can have it for nothing. And this cover dates back to 1922, and you can see that it is a postal cover. It's got this postal stamp on the corner there, so it is an official postal issue, and it shows a very interesting scene with saber-toothed tigers eating in the swamp. But what it also shows up in this corner here, right by the postmark, is this wibbly-wobbly sauropod dinosaur. And so this dinosaur obviously dates back to 1922. So what was this cover all about? If you look in the corner here, you can see it's Torrance Lime and Fertilizer Company. So it's some kind of advert for fertilizers. So what I did, I was down in California for work, and I took a field trip out to Lomita, which is the place where that Torrance Fertilizer Company was originally based. So these are some old adverts from Lomita advertising the lime. So I went back to the quarry where the material was mined. And unfortunately, I couldn't get in there because for safety reasons, they weren't letting any of the public in there. But I was able to visit the offices where that stamp and that envelope originally came from. So this is what we think is the earliest postal dinosaur. They didn't have any other covers there because I would have loved to pick up a few. I've got plenty of friends who'd be interested in having a copy of that cover. But nonetheless, at least we have this one to show how early dinosaurs dated back to philately. So I'm going to take you through from those early days and up to the present and show you some of the trends in the designs of these dinosaur stamps. And I think these trends would apply for pretty much any topic. And I kind of liken it to music. So different styles of music from different generations sort of match the style of art that's used on the stamps as well. So I'll try and show you what I mean. So we start off in the 60s. So remember that Chinese stamp was from 1958. So these stamps date from the early 60s, middle 60s. And you can see that there's quite a slightly psychedelic feel, a Pink Floyd feel to the 60s stamps that were issued. So we've got these ones from Mongolia up here, got this beautiful postal maxi card here from San Marino, probably one of the earliest maxi card issuing countries. with this long neck dinosaur. Now they don't think that they were able to go underwater because the weight on the water would be too much and would crush their lungs. But at the time, this was how they were viewed. And we've got other designs from Aden and from Belgium as well. So there's a very psychedelic feel at this time. We move into the flower power designs of the 70s. So the Rolling Stones should be playing in the background right now. And you can see that it's all about color. And there's some vibrant colors and some wonderful designs that are used here as well. So this is a very, very lovely set of stamps from Lesotho. And this was designed by a British lady who's done endless stamp designs. And I was able to get in touch with her, and she actually painted a version of this stamp for me. Jennifer, she did a great job. Other designs here from Japan, from Congo, and then I've put in a bit of a random one here from Myanmar, and we're going to talk about dunes and dune stamps in a little while. And then something from Equatorial Guinea as well, but lots of beautiful, brightly colored stamps. Then we move on to the kind of new romantics of the 80s. So there's some kind of punky guys, so the punk movement, the Clash, the Ramones, sitting down here, this guy here looking very mean. And then some really quite pretty designs, which would be more like your Human League and your softer music that was coming through at that time, but slightly techno as well. And beautiful designs here this is from Germany. And you can see here with this lovely surround with the fossils around it. And what's nice about this particular cover is that it's got this stamp sheet on it with this Kentrosaurus featured on that. And then the postmark is from Berlin, showing the Archaeopteryx as well. So some excellent prehistoric material on there. So nice cover from Cuba here as well. And I really like this, where it's showing the models from this dinosaur park, the Valley of the Prehistoric National Park. And it also shows reconstructions as well. So you've got two different versions of the same dinosaur. And then finally, this lovely design from British Antarctic Territory. Then we move on to the 90s, and this is girl power. We had Britney Spears and the Spice Girls and Madonna at that time. And you're seeing more kind of like mothering, dinosaurs doing mothering with their eggs and babies. Some very nice kind of more technical designs. And you can see that there's a hint here of kind of like the computer age coming in and a bit more technical. And I just put this one in because I am from Britain originally. And what's nice about this particular first day cover is this is a set from 1991. And Maidstone, where the iguanodon was first discovered, actually has the dinosaur on its coat of arms, which is featured on this first day cover. Then we move on to recent issues, and recent issues really fall into two categories. We have the designs that are official, such as your USA design here, the T-Rexes that came out not that long ago in 2020. Three-dimensional designs, very interesting, very technically proficient, lovely images. Same with Hungary as well. Some really kind of hard work has gone into this. But we also have some rather trashy, illegally issued Cinderellas, which are flooding the market as well. So you have to pick and choose. And I think this is one of the problems for topical collectors, is picking and choosing which material you should collect. So we're going to go on and talk about Cinderellas now. And this is really something that I feel strongly about. So the very first Cinderellas, the very first fake stamps that were issued were the dunes. And these were issued in the 1960s in United Arab Emirates. And a gentleman called Finbar Kenny signed contracts with the Trucial states, so that some of those Arab states who issue stamps for the collector's market. So he got his cut, he gave some money to the United Arab Emirates, and they issued tens of thousands of stamps. And I have to be quite honest, despite the fact that these are completely fake, I actually really like them. There's some beautiful designs there. There's some very imaginative designs. There's also some ridiculous designs. And I'm going to show you a few of those later on. But I do have a secret love for these. And when you look at something like this, which was produced totally for collectors and was never used postally, I still think that that's a nice piece of artwork. So despite the fact that they are fakes, they are lovable fakes. Then we move on into the late 1980s, and so we've had probably about 40 dinosaur issues around the world in that time, almost all of which were fairly legit. But then when the Soviet Union started breaking up, there was an opportunity for companies to make money. And Clive Feigenbaum, who I think most topical collectors will have heard of because he was an absolute mastermind of producing fake material, he took this opportunity to do these overprints on existing stamps. So the existing stamps are probably worth 1/10 of a cent or something like that. And he would stamp them with these overprints and then sell them as being reissues by the new states which have been created when the Soviet Union broke up. And these sheets, which are completely fake, I mean 150% fake, are now selling on the market. If you want to buy these, often they're $10 to $15 a sheet. And there are thousands and thousands. And I only have the dinosaurs. There are thousands of dinosaurs, but I hadn't fully realized that they are just everything. So if you want owls, if you want fish, if you want chimneys, anything you want, they've been overprinted on these stamps as well. So it was just a vast and impressive money-making scheme. In the early 90s, Africa came to the fore, and Africa started producing a vast number of Cinderellas or fakes as well. And I think the status of these is generally that they're Cinderellas, so they're not quite as bad as the completely fake items, but pretty close. They appear to be postally used because they have these cancel to order postmarks on them, but generally speaking, I don't think you'd see many of these used postally. I have bought a few envelopes where the stamps have been used for postage, so at least some of them have some validity, and they're all listed in things like Michel in their catalog, so that they have some validity. But you can see the general style is to make a big sheet with lots of stamps, and they have they tend to make up a nice picture as well, and they were never really intended to be used postally. And you can usually pick these sheets up for $3 or $4 these days. So what it means to collectors when you have all of this material is you do start to feel a bit ripped off. There's hundreds of issues from countries where they've never found a dinosaur. They're often not listed. And some of the countries include Comores, Ghana, Guinea-Bissau, and many others. Also from the Caribbean, there's a whole set from there, including that first sheet that I ever bought, that Antiguan sheet, and then also from some of the Pacific Islands as well. So there's a lot of these Cinderellas that were being produced in the early 90s and mid-90s. Russia came back into the fore around this time as well, and Russia started issuing more counterfeit sheets. And you can see the same idea applies here. They're sheets which normally they don't even have proper borders around them. They have a picture on them, and then they've been perforated. And they sell now. Usually you can pick these up for $1 or $2. Sometimes they're more expensive, but they are all counterfeit as well. But if you want to have a complete collection, then you might be thinking to yourself, well, I should really buy these as well. So it's a conundrum for the topical collector, whether or not you consider you need to have these to fill out your collection. So then things have carried on in very much the same vein, and the next wave began, I think, around 2012 and continues to now, with hundreds and hundreds of dinosaur sheets being issued by countries that really have no right to issue them. So Sierra Leone, Guinea-Bissau, Central African Republic, the same countries that are issuing topicals on 100 themes are including dinosaurs as well. And some of them are really quite pretty, but most of them are a little bit average. And typically the price for these is going to cost you around $10 to $15 per sheet. So if you want to have all of these, you're going to be spending a lot of money. And what's happening is that the dealers are kind of gathering amongst themselves and making sure that they charge a decent whack for them. So I've got an example here, which is just one country, so Mozambique, which has actually found a couple of dinosaurs in the country, but only a couple. And this is just from 2012 to 2020. So all I'm showing here is selected sheets. I'm not showing the first day covers. I'm not showing the special sheets, the special imperforate sheets, all of the different designs. I'm just showing you the sheets. So this is a country that really, none of these are official issues. And if you were to buy all of these, the total cost for those Mozambique sheets is going to be around $900. And then to add to that, you have to add another maybe $750 to buy the first day covers. And now and again, you do see people selling them more cheaply, but they seem to be quickly closed down. So it's a closed market. And if you want to have a complete collection, then maybe you consider that you need to have these as well. I'm just showing these special sheets here. So this is a set of 4 stamps that was issued. So the 4 stamps were issued individually. Then the stamps were issued in sheets of 4. And then the stamps were also issued in these special sheets. And they were also issued in perforate in these special sheets. And if you wanted to buy these 4 sheets here in perforate, it's going to set you back €195. And that's for something that basically is just a piece of paper with an image printed on it, because it's totally not postally valid. So just to summarize the Cinderellas, without doubt, they are a plague for topical collectors. It's not always clear if they are even semi-legal. As I said, Michelle lists quite a few of these gaudy designs, but Stanley Gibbons usually not. And I am, as a collector, I am not really sure where the line is drawn, and I'm not sure how fake is fake. And it seems that there's a bit of a sliding scale here, where sometimes there are items which are listed by the country, and the country was in collusion with people like Clive Fagenbaum, and they both made some money. And then other ones where he just went ahead and produced them, maybe got a little signature from somebody in the postal department of the government, and that they weren't official at all. So I did a little count here just to show the sort of numbers we're talking about for these Cinderellas. So this is dinosaurs only. Gaudy stamps for collectors from 1992 to 2002, around 2,200. Gaudy stamps up to the present, around 2,100. Those sheets from the Russian states with the pictures on them, around 1,000 stamps. And then the overprints that I showed you, at least 2,500. So you add all of those up, and we have a minimum number of Cinderellas, 8,600 Cinderellas. So that's not real dinosaur stamps, that's fakes. And I just put this little graph in here just to show you how things have gone. So as I said, it started around 1992. So we had the first wave here with all of those African designs. We had a lull, very nice lull for collectors, where you didn't have to spend as much money in the early 2000s. And now the second wave is continuing on in the same vein. And I must be honest with you, 2014, I made a decision to stop buying them because it was just costing too much money. And I have a lot more disposable income now. And I just put this in here in case anybody wants to look at the presentation afterwards, just to show you some of the countries that should make you nervous. So I'm not going to read them all out because there are too many. This is just a summary of them. And I've noticed that there's quite a few things missing here, like all of those Pacific islands and things like that are missing as well. So all of these countries should make you nervous if you see issues by them, particularly if they're pretty and multicolored. So other lowlights of my collection. So we've looked at the Cinderellas. Let's just look at some of what I call the plain silly items. And the first plain silly item is Disney stamps. And it sticks in my craw. It's painful to have to buy these. I mean, for the sake of completeness, because I'm trying to get every mint dinosaur stamp that's been issued, I feel that I should buy these. But when you look at some of these designs, this is the Toy Story stamps, and of course, Toy Story had Rex the dinosaur in it. And because of that, I end up buying lots of Toy Story material from countries like Uganda, Chad, all sorts of areas where you'd just be thinking, no, I really shouldn't be buying these stamps. Up here we have these Disney stamps from Congo, and you've got Minnie Mouse here in half the pictures, and then a couple of random dinosaurs in there as well. And once again, I'm sure that this is not something that's just dinosaurs. I'm sure that every theme that you collect has the same challenges. And over here we have Uncle Donald Duck, who has an Easter egg. The Easter Bunny is featured on there as well, and there's a dinosaur coming out of the egg. So yeah, it feels pretty bad to buy them. And I talked to my daughter about this, and even she thinks that they're pretty painful, these items as well. So she sort of likes them. Gold and silver sheets are another thing which are guaranteed fake, and there are no countries really that have issued dinosaurs which have any postal validity at all. And usually they're very expensive. They've come down in price recently, but up until then, these sort of sheets were selling for $60 or $70 each, which is just ridiculous in my opinion. And you'll notice that very cleverly, it's not just a dinosaur on there. There's a dinosaur for the dinosaur topical collector, butterfly for the butterfly collector, small mushroom there to suck in the mushroom people, whales, and then there's a turtle on there as well. So the stamps feature multiple themes to make sure that as many people as possible have to buy them. So the main culprits that I found are being Guyana and Mongolia. And I kind of laugh about this particular design over here because not only is this a fake sheet, but it's a fake sheet that was an unadopted design. So this is limited, very, very limited numbers, and was quite expensive to buy, but I felt for the sake of completeness that I should have it in my collection. So I've never really seen these on a kind of postally used envelope. I've seen them on these sort of fakey first day covers, but I don't think really that any of these stamps have ever been used. Another area that I find quite challenging is the amount of ephemera that's now out there. And if you just look at these, this is one set from Australia, Australia's Age of Dinosaurs from 2013. And the stamps are absolutely lovely. And the designs were by a famous artist as well. So they have everything going for them. And as you can see here, we have first day covers, set of stamps. We have coin covers as well. We have a special cover here that you open it up and it makes a roaring sound when it opens. And if you go down the list, first day covers, coins, roaring covers, prestige folder, presentation pack, framed artwork, total cost 360 Australian dollars for basically one set of dinosaurs. So I also find this pretty challenging, and I've tried to cut down a little bit on buying every item that they produce. And I just wanted to finish off our silly section with what I think is probably one of the silliest sets of dinosaurs on stamps that I've seen. And this is from Fujairah 1972, and I pretty much guarantee this is the only set of dinosaurs on stamps that includes a hamster. So hamster, we've got goats on there, we've got, you name it, the animals on there, but at the bottom here we have 4 dinosaurs and a mammoth as well. So really, to me, that's a little bit of a joke set that it's kind of nice to have in my collection, I have to say. So now we're just going to talk about a few really, really silly designs. And I'm going to point out to you that the real problem here seems to be with the bipedal dinosaur. So most people can draw themselves a long-necked dinosaur, a sauropod, but look at these arms here. He actually looks like he's got one arm in the middle of his chest for some reason. So this is supposed to be a scary T-Rex, but he doesn't really feel very scary to me. And I've got some other bipedal dinosaurs on here as well to show you. So we have this dinosaur, which actually looks like somebody in a costume from Barbuda. And this was an interesting set because they issued the Antiguan set and then they just overprinted Barbuda on there and you had to pay for it all over again. But they had their own first day covers as well. This Allosaurus from Vietnam kind of looks like a little bit of a glove puppet, in my opinion. And then finally, this cover here from Yemen, which is vanishingly rare, very, very hard to get hold of, fake as it might be, it's still a lovely philatelic item. But when you zoom in and have a look at this, which I think is supposed to be an iguanodon, the date is actually way wrong. It should be about 80 million years, but it's 200 million years ago. So it's the Saurus, the land of the Saurians, time of the Saurians, and we see this thumbs up iguanodon, which really, it could hardly have been drawn worse. I think a child could have done a much better job than the artist there. And also it's worth mentioning that this set that includes cavemen, but it also includes space material. So all the space collectors out there, topical collectors, if you want to have a complete collection, you need to have this first day cover as well. So it's not just one theme. And then the biggest embarrassment to me, the winner of most pathetic dinosaur stamp ever, is probably this one, which is actually a mosasaur, so marine reptile. But you can see that that must have taken all of about 2 minutes to draw. And I put in a couple of other items from the same set with this angry-looking Dimetrodon in here. And then this long-necked dinosaur here kind of looks like he's got maybe wearing eyeshadow or something like that. But I have to say that Equatorial Guinea, they kind of learned the error of their ways. And they showed another set in 1994, which really had a beautiful Velociraptor on there as well. So they have kind of come right in time. And the reason I put in the design like this is just to show you that you can find the progressive proofs of this set as well, if you really want to include them in your collection. So the story so far, we've seen how dinosaurs on stamps began. We've watched them evolve through time. We've seen just how many Cinderellas confuse the picture. And we've seen some pretty silly stamp designs. So in our next segment on June the 1st, we'll get to see the beautiful side of these stamps. So we'll get to see some fabulous designs, dating right the way back to the beginning of the dinosaur stamp issues, some real rarities, and rarities for all sorts of reasons, some because they were very limited issues, some because nobody really realized they had dinosaurs on them. We'll see some errors as well, and we're going to see some breathtaking original artwork. And I'm also going to tell you guys a very interesting story about why Canada Post had red faces back in 2015 from a dinosaur stamp issue that they got completely wrong. So just to show you some of the stuff we'll be looking at next time, this is some original artwork from one of those June sets, Fujairah. Then we have a Poland issue here, which is an error where you have a Tetbesh sample with the value this way up and the actual design upside down. So the dinosaur's basically standing on its head, the marine reptile. And then finally, this is by a really quite famous artist whose pictures are selling for around £20,000 in the UK. But he sent a set of first day covers, which he painted to a friend of his. And I managed to pick up 4 of these covers back in 1991. And you can see here that he turned his hand to dinosaurs, and his dinosaur first day covers sell for around £150, whereas his legitimate artwork sells for more like 18,000. So just to whet your appetite for next time, as far as post to be used items goes, this very busy cover here shows a complete set from Russia, 3 of each of the designs, postmarks everywhere, registered posts, recommande, letter, registered. It's got pretty much everything on this cover, and I'm going to show you plenty more material like that. So with that, I'm going to finish part 1. Stay tuned for part 2 on June the 1st. Thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you very much.
That was so fun, John. Thank you. You did such a beautiful job. That was really interesting. I liked the way when you were talking about the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, how you were, you brought in the cultural influence of the music, you know?
Yeah. And I think things like the arms race, when that was going on back in the 60s and the 70s, the dinosaurs were shown as being much more aggressive than they are now. And then in the 80s, when things got all touchy-feely, then the dinosaurs were far more family-oriented and there were less fighting dinosaurs on the stamps. So it really did match what was going on socially, like you say.
I love that. As an anthropologist, that's my favorite part of material culture. We have a lot going on here in the chat. I am going to scroll up. That again, that was a brilliant presentation, and the graphics that you chose, phenomenal, beautiful.
Well, I can promise you that next time, June the 1st, they will be much more beautiful than those ones. That was just the start. There's some amazing material out there, and a lot of it really justifies the term art as well as just being stamps. So someone asked me about where I keep my first day covers. So I have albums that I slip so they have the Vario pages that I slip the covers into those albums. So I have a set of about 30 albums that are full of first day covers and about 20 shoe boxes full of covers as well. So there's a lot of material that I'm busy cataloging at the moment. I've actually been doing a lot of scanning because I want to try and stop buying duplicates by mistake. So I'm trying to scan my whole collection.
Everybody hear that? The digital age, it's just around the corner.
Well, it's made me a lot of money as well.
Yeah, and then you can exhibit in new ways too. So that's cool. Let's see. Let's start. CJ, why don't you jump in here, hon? Can I get you to jump in? CJ White. She's undercover. There she is.
Hello.
No.
CJ White is
I really
and a frequent guest on Stamp Chat. So
Great.
go ahead, CJ.
I really enjoyed this talk. It was great. I love being able to see the evolution of how we envision dinosaurs through these stamps. Like not just you were talking about comparing music to the design and like how the culture influences the design of the stamp, but what we know about dinosaurs, you know, from going from the bipedal to the more horizontal body type, getting new fossils and learning different, you know, skull structure, and then of course the new Tyrannosaurus ones from the U.S. You know, they actually have the feathers on the dinosaur, which is great. So I think stamps are a great way to learn about dinosaurs and how we have envisioned them in the past and what we know now and how we're always learning.
Yeah, I totally agree. And when you look back at those early stamp designs with all the tails dragging on the ground and very kind of stolid dinosaurs just lumbering around, and the way that's changed, and now they're really active. And like you were saying, that T-Rex set, there's dinosaurs jumping around and really being active. And yeah, the whole view of dinosaurs has changed, and the stamps reflect that beautifully.
And you mentioned, like in your comments, CJ, how CJ has a love affair, you know, it's a complicated love affair with Cinderellas. And so.
Yeah, I actually collect quite a few Cinderellas. So it's interesting. There's some great ones and there's some great history you can learn from Cinderellas. But also you just kind of feel like, oh my gosh, another one, I don't really need this.
Yeah, I'm completely with you on that. And the dunes, especially, I've done quite a few searches where I just put in something like Manama or Oman or something like that, and you look through the stamps, and they're pretty much all dunes. They're all fakes, but they're beautiful stamps, and they're fascinating designs. And some of them are terrible, and some of them are wonderful. And I just enjoy them all. And yeah, you're thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't have them in my collection. And my friend Michael Kogan, who I haven't mentioned, but he has a wonderful website on dinosaurs called paleophilately.eu, which I recommend anybody going and visiting. But Michael, he keeps most of that material off the site because it's not legit, it's not valid. But nonetheless, I have a secret love for it as well. So yes, it's a sort of love-hate relationship. Difficult.
I'm just looking up that paleophilately.eu.
EU.
Well, Michael is here. I don't know if you knew
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I just saw.
Good. Derwin, would you like to speak, hon? In 3.
All right, let's see.
There we go.
Oh, can you guys see me?
Can't
All
see
right.
you, hon, but we can
All right.
hear you.
We can
Can you
hear
hear
you.
You can't hear me. Okay.
No, we can hear you, darling. We just can't see you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is a very interesting presentation. I have a comment about that gold stamp from Easdale Island. You mentioned Clive Feigenbaum several
Yes.
times. He told me, I saw him at Capex back in 1996 or so. He had a booth. He told me he owned Easdale Island and actually ran a pub on that island.
I have a feeling you're right. I think that was one of the ways that he got the sort of publishing rights, the printing rights for the stamps, was that he actually owned that island at one time. So I think you're absolutely right. So maybe you could say they're not Cinderellas because he owned the island.
Oh, there's still Cinderellas because it would be an island local post. But I was quite I guess as a Cinderella collector impressed you got that gold stamp that had practically any sort of species stuffed onto it. And obviously it came from Easdale Island, so it's a Clive Feigenbaum creation.
Yeah, I mean he was. I did meet him once, and he's just an amazing guy. I mean, whatever you think about him, he did a lot for philately, and I probably not all of it good, but nonetheless, he was certainly very active, very creative, and perhaps he should have been in politics.
Well, you should as I comb through the chat, feel free to look over, John, on all your chats because you've received a lot of accolades. That's for sure.
Well, I'm hoping you guys can join us again on June the 1st, because really I have got some really beautiful material, and particularly the original artwork to share, which is just, some of it's breathtaking.
You have from Romina. Romina, would you like to speak, hon?
Yeah, I think Romina started asking a question about maybe Argentina.
That's right. You have a complete sheet of Okay, thanks, Romina. You have a complete sheet of Argentinian stamps. What do you think about the representation?
I think those stamps are, once again, the pictures of the dinosaurs are okay, but the skeletons are beautifully done. So I really like the idea of having the skeletons in the margins and having the actual reconstructions on the stamps. Anything that kind of shows where the scientists start from and where they get to me is very valuable. So I'm busy preparing a design, and this is a long shot, but I'm preparing a design for a set of Italian stamps because they've never issued a dinosaur on stamp. And they've got lots of dinosaurs they found in their country. So I'm doing the designs where I'm having a dinosaur, the reconstruction, and in the corner I've got what the original skeleton looks like. And that's the idea, is to show the kind of the skeleton and the reconstruction. So I think I'm not going to try and borrow from Argentina, but I do think that's a very nice way of doing it. So wish me luck. That will be a way of getting the original artwork. Design it yourself.
That's incredible. Are you talking to Italia or the Post Italia, or is this for real?
Yeah, for real. Yeah, I mean, they haven't asked me to do it, but I've suggested to them. So I've written to them and suggested to them, and I'm busy doing the sketches right now to put together. So they can only say no.
Yeah. And Romina wishes you luck. That's great. And Casey's saying,
Excellent.
cool. How awesome. Now you
One
had
of the-
mentioned, go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the things I'm going to talk about next time is also how you can look for the original artwork and different ways that you can go about trying to find it. Because I've probably got 5 or 6 different ways that I've tried to get hold of original material from the stamps, and including contacting the original artists. So we'll see.
Get those Italian proposed designs printed as essays. Go ahead, Rick, go ahead and speak.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw Dinosaur Valley State Park. Is that the one in Glen Rose, or is that another one?
We have a state
Yeah,
park.
there we go.
There we
I
go.
was muted. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Yeah, that's Dinosaur Valley State Park in Glen Rose. It's an interesting place. And their website shows a picture of the river that the dinosaur footprints are in. And it looks like a place that you would actually expect to see dinosaurs.
Oh, absolutely. It's amazing because the footprints are literally exposed along the riverbed there. But what's funny, it has a creation museum right next to it. So you can do sublime to the not so sublime, in my opinion. The other nice thing about that place to go and visit is it has one of the original Sinclair dinosaurs that was shown at the World Expo back in 1964.
Yeah.
Which was on while I was being born. Literally the day it opened the day I was born, that expo.
You are a dino man.
Yeah, my birthday is Earth Day, so it fits nicely.
Oh.
I don't know what that has to do with philately, but I just thought it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a great place to go and visit, and I think it ties in nicely with the whole theme of dinosaurs as well.
Yeah.
You can't have too many dinosaurs.
That's definitely the theme I'm noticing of people who are with dinosaurs.
And Michael's just pointing out here that he has a lot of material on his website about that expo as well, and lots of other things as well. So
thank you.
I think the people that did Jurassic Park might have a difference of opinion there about too many dinosaurs.
True.
There's some terrible Cinderellas from Jurassic Park as well, which I won't be showing, but there's quite a lot of material on Jurassic Park. They're about as good as the issues which show pictures of Princess Diana. That's the kind of level we're talking about. They're really bad, but yeah, there's quite a few Jurassic Park stamps out there.
Do you have your exhibit online?
No, but I would be happy to put it online.
Okay. CJ wanted to know that, and then
Okay.
Mike, as he has many exhibits, include the one from John. Okay, that's great.
Oh, good. Yeah, I think I sent in the pictures, so yeah, I'm happy to post it up. It's all, I kept it all together, so it's I could photograph it nicely and put it on the site.
Please do. And then before I forget, we have a friend in the audience who'd like to know, can you share your email address, or would you like me to do that privately? Or
No, I'm happy to share it. So if anyone wants to contact me with any questions, then go ahead.
and it's Jon Noad at Hotmail, right?
Yeah, with no H. H in Hotmail, but no H in John.
Okay, that's right. You had mentioned, oops, too many M's on that. You had mentioned countries to be aware of, and of course, that's criminal. So I'm like, wait, what's that all about? So would you share that?
Yeah, so I found a very good website, which is about, it was originally put together, I think, because of the Russian states. So it was about the Russian states, but the guy ended up showing literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stamps that were all fakes and from different countries. So he went through country by country by country, showing the kind of fakes that they have. And if anybody's interested in that, I have the website reference. I can't think of it offhand. I think if you do a search on Russian fake philately, you'll probably find it on Google. That's how I found it originally. But nonetheless, he has this great site that he put an awful lot of work into, and it just summarizes every country to be at least aware of. And some countries, they started off fine. Like Lesotho was publishing nice, honest stamps back in the 70s and 80s. But then they got taken over by somebody who was just using their name. I just can't think of the website offhand. It's on our other
Russian
computer. So
Federation counterfeit illegal stamps.
it could well be, yeah. I mean, it takes a long time to load because he's got so many thousands of images on it.
What other stamps are out there? You know, like it seems like dinosaurs on stamps is huge. So what others comparable? You know, in terms of.
So when you go online and you look at the different animals, there are animals that have more. Birds, I think, probably have the most. There's millions and millions of bird stamps. But I was telling Heidi this story that I went to a stamp shop when I was preparing for my first exhibit, and this lady helped me, and she exhibited horses. She collected horses on stamps, and it was so interesting to talk to somebody else who had exactly the same hobby as me, and yet completely different. We did not have one issue that overlapped between our collections, and yet we basically were looking on all the same websites, going through all the same trauma with Cinderellas. So that's one really nice thing about topicals is that we talked about this, Heidi, about how we could have a kind of topical forum where we just talked about the issues that topical collectors face, because we all face the same issues, and yet we all collect completely different things. I mean, I've met a guy who collects chess as well, and he has his holy grails that he's looking for on his chess designs. And you know, I kind of like chess a little bit, but I don't have any chess stamps. But it's very interesting to talk to him about all the trials and tribulations he's gone through to try and find those rare items. And I would say, if you're collecting the rare items, write to the dealers, because they'll remember you that way. It's all very well looking on eBay, but if you write to those dealers who specialize in your, like in San Marino, for example, they're the ones who are most likely to come up with the rare material that you're looking for.
John, with the horse lady, wouldn't you also have a little overlap with the Eohippus dinosaurs?
We would, but unlike Michael, who's on the forum today, I do not collect fossil mammals. I stuck to dinosaurs, and it's probably saved me 10,000, 20,000 pounds. Yeah, so you are right. There is definitely an overlap there, but I try really to restrict myself to dinosaurs. Unless I see a first taken that I love with the mammals on it, I just stick to dinosaurs.
Okay, just had to throw that in there.
Yeah, no, you're quite right. I mean, the Eohippus, there's a nice American issue with Eohippus on it as well, a nice mammal set that was issued by them. Yeah.
Austin, I'm going to put you on on the spot. You have anything you want to share?
No, not really. I've just started collecting stamps, so yeah.
Do you like a certain topical, or do you like a certain theme, or?
I like to collect the Champion of Liberty series, space ones and dinosaur ones.
Nice.
And I like Boy Scouts.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
We're both
fantastic.
in Boy Scouts.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Yeah, Boy Scouts is helping to keep philately alive among the youth. There's no doubt about it. That's terrific. You know, did you get there are stamps available right now, the dinosaur stamps. John and I were talking about them at USPS. They're big.
Okay.
Get them?
We'll have to go check it out.
They're big squares. Yep. And
I tried to find them at our local post office, and they were all sold out.
oh yeah, Casey's showing.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
I've never seen that out of the packet. I have it in the packet.
Yeah, it comes in a really neat set that has stationery and the stamps, and then this puzzle that you can put together. My husband put it together. That it kind of looks like a stamp, but you can like mount it on your wall. I have it right next to my desk on the wall. I just think that's really cool. It's a nice piece of ephemera to add to your collection.
Yeah, I bought that as well.
Where is that from, Casey?
That's from USPS. It's on the website.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that set is a really nice set. So I was telling Heidi that what I did was that I bought that set of stamps and I sent them to the post office in Dinosaur, Colorado. and I said, please, will you put them on the envelope, postmark them, and send them back to me. So they sent them to me. So I have and the postmark is Dinosaur Colorado on my set of dinosaur stamps, and they were very nice. They did the postmark beautifully on the stamps and then to the side as well, just to make sure I had a real collectible.
And, you know, because we have a neophyte on the line, can you just you know, just for Austin so he knows, can you just share the steps of how you do that, how you send a letter out to get canceled?
Yeah, so well, what I did was that I phoned them up first and I asked if it was okay, and they were very, very friendly and helpful, and I have a feeling I wasn't the first person who'd been asking about the dinosaur postmark. And then I got the envelope, stuck the stamps on it, and then put it inside another envelope and sent that to them. And what I did was I sent them, I think what happened was that I couldn't get hold of the stamps, so I put some money in to buy the stamps. I literally put the cash in, which I don't know if they're really supposed to take it. So they sent me the stamps on the envelope back with the postmark, and they also, inside another envelope, they put the change. So the change they did in stamps as well. So they actually sent me 3 extra dinosaur stamps in another envelope, which they had to put the dinosaur stamps on for that envelope as well. So I got some free extra dinosaur stamps with another dinosaur postmark on it as well. And just to give you guys an idea, so that postmark, there was a postmark in the 1960s and 70s in Arizona called Dinosaur City, which is where these caves are called the Grand Canyon Caves. And that one of those covers is on sale at the moment on eBay. And the last one went for $230 for that cover with a normal stamp, but just because it had the Dinosaur City postmark. So one day, if those post offices close down and you can't get that postmark anymore, they can be worth a lot of money. And that's a whole separate theme, collecting postmarks. And there are people out there who only collect postmarks and not stamps.
And in that same vein, are there places around the world where you're looking to get the postmark to complete your dinosaurs?
Yeah. So one thing that I'll have to show next in the talk, I hadn't thought about it, but I'll have to show it. I've got a postmark from South Korea where I have the original metal stamp as well, because they only used it for one day when they had this new dinosaur issue, and then they took that metal, the printing mechanism, they took it out, and I bought that as well. And it was like $20 or something. No one wanted to buy it, so I bought this thing, and I have that. So I have the postmark on an envelope, and I have the original metal die that was used to create the postmark.
Was that an eBay find?
Yeah.
No,
I think it was Delcamp actually. Delcamp is better for me. It's good. There's less people on there. Probably not now.
Delcamp will be a guest on Stamp Chat in the coming weeks, so that'll be cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, look at Michael. Michael's website has hundreds of dinosaur postmarks.
1200 postmarks. I love postmarks. I think they are so cool, and I love when you have them come back to you. That's so neat.
There is a website as well, which a guy has the Geology of Postmarks, and it has everything from volcano Hawaii and fossil Utah and all of these different geology postmarks from around the country. It's only for the US, but I think he's got about 150 examples of different postmarks. Mammoth in Wyoming.
Postmarks for towns with geology related names.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's a really neat way to another avenue, Austin, is the cancellation marks in the post. That's so fun. I'll write that in there. My goodness. So do we have any, a lot of you guys are undercover, but I would imagine that many of you are dinosaur stamp collectors. That's
so if you think of any other questions, then come back on June the 1st and we'll leave some time at the end for questions then as well. And if you do want to email me and ask me something, or there's a cover that you want a picture of, then either contact me or you can contact Michael as well. So Michael's website has quite a lot of my material on it as well that I scanned and sent to him. So it's his website. It's a beautiful website, but it's got some of my material on there as well.
That's terrific. Well, this hour went so fast, and I loved, and I could tell by the faces and the commentary, what a bang up job you did, Jon. Thank you so much. And like Jon said, we will be back here on Monday, June 1st for part 2 of this fabulous discussion on dinosaurs on stamps. You know how much fun you had. Go ahead and invite another person. I really want to challenge friends to start bringing colleagues and family members onto Stamp Chats and broaden philately, that it's, to people who have interest, and show them there's a stamp for it. And I really love seeing new faces and you bringing new friends to the forum and to the Stamp Chat. Remember, tomorrow we have our APS Live celebrating the Harlem Renaissance stamp. We're joining Esper on that. Please join us, Facebook Live, APS YouTube Live, or if you can get on the call, we'll be on Zoom tomorrow night. Our next Stamp Chat, friends, is on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. We will be talking about the Imperial Airmail of the 1930s, so buckle up. That's going to be a really fun ride. And again, thank you so much to all our APS members who make this possible, to include Jon as one of our APS members. We appreciate your support, and please, let's make 2020 challenge a reality, and we'll be recruiting 2020 new members to the APS strong. So, COVID might be, it's a beast, but we have 100+ years of all sorts of calamities, and we've made it through to this point, to even Stamp Chat. So we have a strong legacy, a strong heritage. Let's keep it moving forward. Enjoy a beautiful day. This talk will be available on APS YouTube, recorded. So we'll have that available within the next 12 hours. And until then, we will see you on Friday. Thank you so much, Dr. Noad, for joining us, and for your daughter for helping with your tech. All right, everybody. Take good care. Take good care. Read all those notes before I say leave. Bye-bye. Thanks, friends. Thanks, Austin, for coming on. Good luck with your stamp collecting. Please continue to join us.
Thanks, guys.
All right, friends. Take care. See you Friday.
Bye.